the human bird shall take his first flight, filling the words with amazement, all writings with his fame, and bringing eternal glory to those whose nest, whence he sprang. The smallest feline is a masterpiece. Nothing can be loved or hated unless it is first understood. Men fight wars and destroy everything around them. The earth should open and swallow them up. He who does not value life does not deserve it. Never destroy another life through rage or through malice. The acquisition of knowledge is always of use to the intellect, because it may thus drive out useless things and retain the good. For nothing can be loved or hated unless it is first known. I have from an early age abjured the use of meat, and the time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals as they now look upon the murder of men. The supreme misfortune is when theory outstrips performance. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. Wisdom is the daughter of experience. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery of oneself. To become an artist you have to be curious. I love those who can smile in trouble. Marriage is like putting your hand into a bag of snakes in the hope of pulling out an eel. What is fair in men passes away, but not so in art. Nothing strengthens authority so much as silence. The painter has the universe in his mind and hands. It is an acknowledged fact that we perceive errors in the work of others more readily than in our own. He who wishes to be rich within a day will be hanged within a year. It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. The eye sees a thing more clearly in dreams than the imagination awake. Study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in. Why does the eye see more clearly when asleep than the imagination when awake? We must doubt the certainty of everything which passes through the senses, but how much more ought we to doubt things contrary to the senses, such as the existence of God and the soul? Once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward, for there you have been, and there you will always long to return. Art is the queen of all sciences, communicating knowledge to all the generations of the world. A painter should begin every canvas with a wash of black, because all things in nature are dark except where exposed by the light. Experience does not only your judgments by expecting from her what is not in her power. Painting is poetry that is seen rather than felt, and poetry is painting that is felt rather than seen. In rivers, the water that you touch is the last of what has passed and the first of that which comes. So with present time, he who can copy can do. While human ingenuity may devise various inventions to the same ends, it will never devise anything more beautiful, nor more simple, nor more to the purpose than nature does, because in her inventions nothing is lacking and nothing is superfluous. The time will come when men such as I will look upon the murder of animals, as they now look on the murder of men, every now and then go away, have a little relaxation, for when you come back to your work your judgment will be surer. Go some distance away, because then the work appears smaller and more of it can be taken in at a glance, and a lack of harmony and proportion is more readily seen. He is a poor pupil who does not go beyond his master. I thought I was learning to live. I was only learning to die. One has no right to love or hate anything if one has not acquired a thorough knowledge of its nature. Great love springs from great knowledge of the beloved object, and if you know it but little you will be able to love it only a little or not at all. He who does not punish evil commands it to be done, as you cannot do what you want what you can do. The deeper the feeling, the greater the pain. The mind that engages in subjects of too great variety becomes confused and weakened. The function of muscle is to pull and not to push, except in the case of the genitals and the tongue. It is easier to resist at the beginning than at the end. Many have made a trade of delusions and false miracles, deceiving the stupid multitudes. I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do. Principles for the development of a complete mind. Study the science of art. Study the art of science. Develop your senses, especially learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. Truth at last cannot be hidden. Dissimulation is of no avail. Dissimulation is too no purpose before so great a judge. Falsehood puts on a mask. Nothing is hidden under the sun. There are three classes of people: those who see when they are shown, those who do not see. The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. Men of lofty genius, when they are doing the least work, are most active. The knowledge of all things is possible. Learning never exhausts the mind. The painter will produce pictures of little merit if he takes the works of others as his standard. I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress, and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, but they whose heart is firm, and whose conscience approves their conduct, will pursue their principles unto death. As every divided kingdom falls, so every mind divided between many studies confounds and saps itself. As a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so life well used brings happy death. If you are alone, you belong entirely to yourself. If you are accompanied by even one companion, you belong only half to yourself, or even less in proportion to the thoughtlessness of his conduct. And if you have more than one companion, you will fall more deeply into the same plight. Details make perfection, and perfection is not a detail. Art is never finished, only abandoned. Anyone who conducts an argument by appealing to authority is not using his intelligence, he is just using his memory. He who thinks little errs much. My body will not be a tomb for other creatures. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. Once you have tasted the taste of sky, you will forever look up. Just as a well-filled day brings blessed sleep, so a well-employed life brings a blessed death. Our life is made by the death of others. Having wandered some distance among gloomy rocks, I came to the entrance of a great cavern. Two contrary emotions rose in me: fear and desire. Fear of the threatening dark cavern, desire to see whether there were any marvelous things in it. A poet knows he has achieved perfection, not when there is nothing left to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. All sciences are vain and full of errors that are not born of experience. The mother of all knowledge. Truly man is the king of beasts, for his brutality exceeds them. We live by the death of others. We are burial places. God sells us all things at the price of labor. Patience serves as a protection against wrongs, as clothes do against cold. For if you put on more clothes as the cold increases, it will have no power to hurt you. So in like manner you must grow in patience when you meet with great wrongs, and they will then be powerless to vex your mind. Iron rusts from disuse. Stagnant water loses its purity, and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigor of the mind. So we must stretch ourselves to the very limits of human possibility. Anything less is a sin against both God and man. Water is the driving force in nature. All our knowledge has its origin in our perceptions. A well-spent day brings happy sleep. I have offended God and mankind because my work didn't reach the quality it should have. Intellectual passion drives out sensuality, the worst evil which can befall the artist is that his work should appear good in his own eyes. Where the spirit does not work with the hand, there is no art. Make your work to be in keeping with your purpose. He who truly knows has no occasion to shout. An average human looks without seeing, listens without hearing, touches without feeling, eats without tasting, moves without physical awareness, inhales without awareness of odor or fragrance, and talks without thinking. Time stays long enough for those who use it. Realize that everything connects to everything else. Iron rusts from disuse. Stagnant water loses its purity, and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigors of the mind. To develop a complete mind, study the science of art. Study the art of science. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. Life without love is no life at all. The artist sees what others only catch a glimpse of. Obstacles cannot crush me. Every obstacle yields to stern resolve. He who does not oppose evil commands it to be done. He who loves practice without theory is like the sailor who boards ship without a rudder and compass, and never knows where he may cast. Those who, in debate, appeal to their qualifications, argue from memory, not from understanding. Blinding ignorance does mislead us. Oh, wretched mortals, open your eyes. He who possesses most must be most afraid of loss. Man has much power of discourse, which for the most part is vain and false. Animals have but little, but it is useful and true, and a small truth is better than a great lie.